Welcome. This is the Domain Name Law Show. We're here every Tuesday. That's noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, where we discuss domain name legal news. We mostly cover UDRP cases. That's domain disputes. So if you have any, we can talk about them. There's 3 hosts to this show, myself, and then there's a ghost named Jeffrey Newman. And then there's live and in the flesh, David Michaels out of the suburbs of Toronto. Hey, David, how's everything going with you today?
All right.
Okay.
How's it going there in Los Angeles area?
Beautiful. I mean, it's like, I guess my mom said it's burning up where she's at. My dad's in southern Indiana. My mom's right there in Indianapolis Speedway. But they said it's like in the 80s every time. It's hot and starting to get muggy. Here it was, I don't know, I got it this morning early, 7 o'clock, let's say, it was about 61. I don't know, now it's probably about, I'm going to check anyway, to burn people up. But yeah, it's 78. How can that be? Geez, it must have got hot fast. Yeah, it's noon here. So I thought it was only going to be like 75 today. Feels great. I guess the high today is going to be 80, but in California, 80 is, beautiful. And in the shade, then it's really nice. But I mean, 80 is not even hot anyway. When you're in places like Texas or Florida and it's 80, got a big thumbs down. Face the music. We pay for the weather here. We're paying for the sunshine. There's no doubt. It's if it was inexpensive out here, well, I'd just be bombarded with folks because the weather's just beautiful. But yeah, so everything's smooth as silk. Jeff's in Seville. He's in Seville, or however you want to pronounce it, Spain, at the ICANN 86 conference. He said he will be joining us next week. Right now, it's not too late. I think it's 8 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock there. He'd been staying up till midnight because I know we were having some conversations and WhatsApps last night. He gets a lot of work done wherever he's at because then he can. When he's just used to traveling, all these ICANN meetings. He was in Arizona too for a week. I know he's going to be in a week out from now, the end of June, early July, traveling. But the guy travels so much, unbelievable. I was supposed to meet him in Arizona. I said, I think I'm going to just handle things virtually. Got to be places. People want to see me in the flesh. Okay, I will be going to NamesCon and wanted to promote that. NamesCon, okay, Miami, November 11th and 12th. Looks like a lot of stuff going on, but a lot of stuff. I look forward to the Beanstalk Challenge. I'll probably come away with that Rolls Royce, or the Bentley or whatever they want to have, but I don't even, I'm going to say I don't want it because I'll take it. But Rick has like different phases to his contest. The second phase, I believe, is a new Corvette. Third phase is like a McLaren. The fourth phase is what my wife wants. So let's just win that. And that's a condo in Florida. She's like, we don't have to, buy one of those things as an old person later on. But anyway, what they're going to do is they're going to this is according to the NamesCon website. And it threw me for a loop because I developed out some of these ideas and I know I'm participating in some things, but I thought I might even be moderating Rick in the Beanstalk session. But looks like on the website I just found out, it looks like it says Ron Jackson. Oh, Ron Jackson. And I know Ron listens to this show sometimes. Boy, yeah, Ron knows. Ron knows too. He's like, him and his wonderful wife were at the last ICA meetup, and they were my biggest fans of when I did my roast, and I was ruthless and rude. And rude. And said the F word several times and even worse. And Ron, I got off stage and he's like pointing the gun at me. Boom, boom, boom. You got him. And he loved it. And his wife, Diane, came up and she high-fived me and she said, and I said, it meant most, coming from her. I was like, they were in front making sure they weren't offended. They were belly laughing. But anyway, so I saw on the NamesCon website said they're going to, of course, I knew they were going to do a session. Okay. Rick and the Beanstalk. And it looked like Rick, I'm sure, he's directing a lot of traffic there. And I see it said Ron Jackson moderating a session. Of course, Rick has this contest. He's partnered with different entrepreneurs, different people to build out some of his websites, some of his domains into websites. And I'm in the contest. And he's got these 5 people that are judges that are going to decide on who, I guess, wins this first phase. There's, like I said, there's 4 phases. If I think it's right. So I believe the who were they? It was Amar, Drew Rosner, I know Morgan Linton. I need to remember who the 5 judges were. Anyway, they're going to probably be there on stage judging and see who, but there's like 25, 26 of us that have live sites already. I think out of like 30 of us. My live site, dick.com, dick.com. Yeah, it's basically, check it out. We're launching July 4th. It's pretty sophisticated, let me tell you. This is not an easy project, but basically you can reserve your names now. But it's basically a platform where when you stream live your channel, you can have a channel at dick.com/Todd, or you can have your own domain, but you have your own channel page, and when we're going to give you the ability to stream live. And if you stream live, people can only access your channel if they send you money to your wallet. So you might have a charge of like, hey, this live stream is going to be 2 hours and it's $5 for the whole stream, or you can charge $1 per minute, whatever you want. But the bottom line is it's payments directly to the content creator. No fees, no flat platform fees. So it's you can check it out. Go to dick.com, and I'm a lot farther along than I anticipated with where we're at. But I'm doing a lot of testing. I was up late last night, but it's fantastic. Listen, sophisticated website. Okay, this is. I'll talk about my stack too. But anyway. I had built domainescrow.com, which was not easy. And of course, I use AI to help, Claude Code to help, but you still need to know what you're doing. And I launched a new Pay Now website. But yeah, I'm a flat out builder. I don't know what to tell you. Okay, so yeah, David, I got a lot of topics to cover today, but anything on your mind as we get rolling here today?
Not really.
This guy's awesome. And like, no. Okay. One thing I don't like is I'm getting these notifications, GoDaddy billing error, failure. And all it is a bullshit thing trying to get you to renew your website. I don't want to renew them. I'm dropping these names, and I don't like that a big company trying this type of bullshit, billing failure. And there's no billing failure. David, is there, apparently they're allowed to do it, but what do you think? Isn't that just a bad look to try something tricky to get you to renew your names? What do you think?
Yeah, I probably. I get emails saying, "Hey, update your credit card number or whatever, or add another credit card to your account." It's like there's already one. What do you need another one for? So, um, yeah, it's. I don't know. They're getting kind of desperate, I guess, because there's probably a lot of people dropping names.
Yeah, and I think that'd be good for them, even if you're dropping a name and somebody's picking it up for $50 or $100. That's good for GoDaddy. I mean, there's something. I wanted to talk quickly about a contest. I put it on I switched around the outline a little bit, David. Anybody wants to check out the outline, go to DNL. That's for domain name law. DNLshow.com/outline. And Ragu wants to come up here for what? Okay, I'm letting him up here because I can't imagine for what. We'll go to DNLshow.com/outline, and you can see I went ahead and changed some things around, and one of it was I had a link to this latest DNW. Andrew Allman interviewed this woman about DNS abuse, and I thought it was going to be really interesting, and I was listening to it, and I couldn't take it, so I even took it off their fucking, excuse my language, off our outline because I couldn't take it. But number 3, B3 on the outline, URLs lost domain contest. So that is a good friend, Jeff Garbett, who's a fantastic broker, operates his company still is Prime Loyalty, but he used to have that as the website. Now he's changed it about a year ago to urls.com. He's a fantastic broker, help you buy and sell domains, your domains, you're looking for one, so on. Definitely recommend you going to, I don't know why I haven't promoted Jeff before, total pro and great negotiator, former police officer. Okay, so he has a contest, and you can see the link on our outline, dnlshow.com/outline. If you have a story about how you lost a domain name, the domain that got away, you were accidentally dropped it, or you were outbid on a name, and you went to use the restroom and you lost your dream domain name because you were missed the auction, or if it's stolen, just whatever the case, you can enter the contest, talk about your lost domain, and he's giving away all sorts of stuff. $500 cash. Okay, he's giving away some consultations. I know one of them is even a consultation with Jeff Newman offered that, but he's adding to the prizes. But I would just, matter of fact, it's got a lot of great stuff. He was telling me he's going to add to it. But anyway, that's on our outline. You can see it's urls.com/lost domain contest. But you can just get it right on our outline, dnlshow.com/outline. Hey, Raghu, what's going on?
Hey, today's my lucky day, multiple way. I'm happy. I'm good. How are you guys?
Well, we're good. We're right in the
Very
middle of a
good.
show. Yeah.
Good,
What's going on?
good. Yeah. So, why I'm saying I'm lucky because, hey, Todd, I'm going to participate in the contest for sure. Because I have stories. Yes, I can talk about it and maybe win. Who knows? So, thanks for that information. And the second thing is, I just want to rewind it when you say about um, you asked David about this um, thing about registrars or losing a domain and all that, or you know, bid and all that stuff. That itself is a full-fledged conversation. So remember that, so we can talk about this one day in different room.
That's how long it took me to get back to my screen. Yeah. Well, before we move on, and we do have a lot of cases. Why you just what's your feelings on the topic, Raghu? You just feel like, yeah, these registrars try all sorts of different tactics. Sometimes they don't seem such.
Yeah, so the the conversation can go long because of the how I speak, but therefore I was making it short. So we should talk about this when we have lots of time in hand. I know this is a scheduled room, so I appreciate it and move on. To the next subject you have, and then that's the reason I just wanted to come up.
Okay, and we'll see if we got any time at the end because we got a lot of cases, but still, I think we're going to be able to fly through them. I was trying to find. I think it was XQO. I'm trying to remember the name of the domain that. Yeah, it's XQO. So, Digital Junkyard, our friend Ryan Ewan out of the UK, was offering a couple three-letter.coms at low price. He had JMY, looks like Jimmy to me, JMY.com, and somebody picked it up at 16 grand. His plan with XQO was to let it basically offered 15 grand, no bid, 14 grand, 13. It was going to go lower $1,000 until somebody bought it. Instead, he decided just to list it on Name Pros in a no reserve auction. So now that auction is over. David, did you see what that went for? I know the price that it eventually sold for. It was started at $1. Did you see
No,
it?
I didn't track it.
Well, it finished at 15,000. But in the guy that bought it, I see him on there. I didn't know. I thought the guy that bought it, basically, I thought I knew the guy, but maybe I don't. He's on X. His username is 4LDOTCOM. Okay, so if you want to look at him on X, it's
Oh yeah,
4LDOTCOM.
yeah. I received a DM from him today.
Yeah,
Matter of fact,
yeah. Who is it?
I don't know. I now you just told me, so I'll look into more in. So I kind of passed my eye
The
about
person
this
I thought it
DM.
was, I know it's not now, so I won't even say who I thought it was. So it
So,
doesn't matter.
anyways, 15K is, I mean, it's a good price. No, what do you say?
Well, it was at 10,250 or 10,500, and he could have bid 10,750, but maybe he just wanted it real bad, but went in and just bid 15,000. I don't know why it couldn't be patient. Just bid 11,000, 11,500, and let that thing work its way up. Could have probably saved himself a grand or two. That's what I was thinking. I was saying any three letter that's less than 10,000, I'm interested in. This one, I probably wouldn't even really have wanted it for 9,000
Yeah,
myself because I
but I
just,
think I
yeah.
learned floor price of three letters is around 18K.
Well, we just see this one going for 15, and the bid
Yeah,
before that was 10,500. Why this person bid 15,000? But anyway, I see him on X, and like I said, let me see. Yeah, I see that they sold a name. Looks like they sold a name. Well, they just purchased MyQX. That's cool for 500. But that shows you, and they just sold ZQYC. This was June 6th. It looks like he posted it. ZQYC for 500. Now in the old days, it's a Chinese premium. YC, I see that. I don't think Y Combinator. I think Yacht Club, because there's a lot of coming. But the point is a C at the end. Some people think you always hear Shane Coulter talk about C at the end means come. Yeah, those normally do go better. That's got, we call them crappy American letters, ZQYC. So some people would be, no, I don't want to interested. Me, I'm interested in ZQYC, but probably for 200 to 300. He sold it for 500, and of course that's not,
yeah.
much
Even
above
Paul
that.
seems talking about it another day. He had a sour deal. He bought a name, and then the guy changed his mind. Something like three letter with a Q and K in it. So like a king and queen kind of name.
Oh,
You
I
know,
thought that was Paul.
Paul. Yeah, Paul Singh. Yeah,
Yeah, I
Paul.
know. It's always, okay. I thought you said this guy. Yeah, um, yeah. People, that flaky stuff. That's why I wanted to see how this thing closes over at Name Pros. And I know Arif was saying to Ryan, are there still eyes over there? Yeah, there's eyes over there, more than anywhere else. There's tons of people around the world. People scan that and they know. Anybody that's buying names, aggressively buying names, they know scan it and they know they're going to try to find. Sometimes it's really a lot of bargains over there. But I like the idea, and I think Josh may do it too. I talked to Josh about it on Thursday, but he was telling Ryan, hey, why don't you do more of these? And Ryan's like, I'll do it. Let's do it. You want to do it? Meaning do a lot of domains, and then you get, real price discovery. Now, of course, there's going to be, it's like a drop catch auction. Well, there's only so many people that watch it. Maybe there's 3,000, maybe there's 300, maybe there's, 90% domain investors. Maybe there's only, maybe there's, like I said, sometimes maybe up to 5-10% end users. We don't know. Every marketplace has a different audience, especially these auctions I'm talking about. So Name Pros, there may be very few people watching it, but that is price discovery. You could consider it limited. It's sort of like if we had an auction here today in this room. Well, sure, it would be limited, and you could, anyway, offer a name that no one in this room is interested in, so it could get a very low price. But there's just no, there's only a few different areas. Then, ask one of these guys running one of their blogs to put a name on there, and anyway, to try to discover these prices, to try to find out a fair market value of a domain, been struggling for years to do it, so I think it's better than starting your own platform as an auction platform. I think it's smart. go to Name Pros, do it there, and maybe when people start realizing that there's going to be some good names like 3 letters starting at $1, people will, it's always the innovators, the pioneers. Maybe they get the, they don't get the benefit early on, but soon there'll be more eyes there, especially when people know what's going on there. $1, $1 starting bids on names that are absolutely worth it. So I'm thinking about doing some over there. I could care less too, just like Ryan. Who cares? Sell these things. Get rid of them. Okay? Some you're going to make more than you have invested in them. Some that you're not. Guys like me, I should at least almost always get what I get out of them, because I've looked at my portfolio. I got $200-$250 in every name. And that's because I registered them and or I got them cheap. So there's nothing that I've paid for other than Horse Spa that I paid $460 for, because my wife has a company, HORSPA. So I went ahead and got the 2-word Horse Spa and forwarded it there, because that's how we do it. Okay, so we're going to do it, David. We're going to get on with the show. David's sitting there. He's throwing his pencils. He's like, this is ridiculous guy talking. Okay, so David, the very first case, even though we're not going to explore this case in a lot of detail, is LIZAY. It just happened to be a case I saw on Domain Gang, and it was really just about this. I don't know why I'm slow to the gun here today. It's you can go to a link on our outline, dnlshow.com/outline. But basically, LIZAY, this Turkish jewelry company filed a UDRP against this domain investor out of Hong Kong and lost. Okay, and he lost because he was like, we got this name, LIZ, that's our trademark. We got this long-running jewelry business. But the respondent said, no, I bought this name, part of a batch of 5-letter domains quite a while ago. And he listed a bunch of his other names that he got in that batch and said, I'm a domain investor. The solo panelist here, Stephen Mayer, said, it is identical to the complainant's mark, but this guy bought this name it was registered back in 2008. The mark at that time was weak. Who knows if the person knew about it? One person's in Turkey. Now this guy who picked up this portfolio is in Hong Kong. So it's unlikely that he knew of knowing of this guy. But anyway, well, the domain owner won, but he didn't get reverse domain name hijacking, even though he was asking $1 million for the price and all this stuff. David, what did when you read this, just this summary of this case, anything stand out to you?
Well, the complaint failed to show that they had common law rights of it back in 2008 when the domain was registered. So that's why they lost, I believe. But nothing else really stood out.
Yeah.
They said they had a trademark since 2000, but at least they had a business under trademark, but they didn't have a registration anywhere that I could see. So they just didn't have any notoriety. And how's this guy in Hong Kong supposed to know about them if they don't have registration when they're not really that famous? Is that what you got out of it, or?
Well, one thing I think I thought you might mention was, the domain owner said this is ridiculous, asked for reverse domain name hijacking, and the panelist said, I'm not going to, I'm not going to find RDNH because this main reason that it is a unique word. It's not a dictionary word, LIZAY. So we could see why the person would come forward and say, okay, even though it was registered before their trademark, the guy hadn't done anything, he said, useful with it. And he is asking $1 million. And the guy finally did get a trademark. I guess the panelists just thought it is a distinctive name, and it was registered shortly after the complainant's early trademark. So that with the high price, you can see why the complainant felt like he had a reasonable case. Just really wasn't abusing the system. That's what the panelists felt. So I think it was a good decision, and I think it was good that he didn't, rule reverse domain name hijacking. Although I do like to see that against really any complainant. I love to see reverse domain name hijacking. So it makes everybody think, Well, there's no penalty to it, but it makes them think before you file these cases. You have a like we say, clear-cut case of cyber squatting, which actually, if you look at the original, I guess the original rules for the UDRP, it doesn't really ever say clear-cut case. We started using that as domain owners, saying if we're not targeting somebody, then we should be able to do what we want. But that's not necessarily the case. But anyway, okay, so that was just a case that I saw. Domain Gang. I like watching Domain Gang. I look forward to seeing him this year, hopefully at NamesCon, because I know he's in Southern Florida. Our first case for today is sort of a goofy case, really, when I put it on here because it's just short and it looks good. com.app. So this domain, obviously on the .app extension, is the disputed domain. This complainant is a guy named Norman Ortiz. He represented himself. The respondent, and this guy's out of the U.S., the complainant. The respondent out of Singapore, and he represented himself as well. So a couple interesting facts, and I'll throw it to you, David, is this guy has a company, a trademark, com.app. And when the .app extension, became available to the public, well, before that, it had that sunrise period, and he went to apply and said, hey, I have the trademark for com.app, so I want com.app. The .app, the registry said, your trademark hasn't been registered, so you can't claim it unless you have a registered trademark. Well, he was bummed out. Sunrise period closed. The thing went to auction, and I think somebody bought it for like $3,000. Then it was resold for $17,000. But yet, in the facts of the case, they keep saying the respondent, the domain owner now, had bought it for more than $20,000. But bottom line is, this guy missed out on his name. He didn't have his trademark in time. It sold to someone else. I mean, it went to a little auction. At the time, it was at the .app, and then it sold one time after that. It was, I believe, 2018 is when the guy bought it for, it says approximately $17,100 on May 10th, 2018. And this guy was just upset. He had reached out to the domain owner to try to buy the domain name. Everything fell through. He just basically did what, these people do when they can't acquire a name, from the, sort of in a legal manner. They try to steal it. David, what do you see when you saw this case, com.app? And go ahead and give us the decision and everything.
Yeah, so it was .app was coming up for an early access period back in 2018, and you had to pay money to get into it. And then once you got it, it was auctioned, and then they got 160 bids, and that's how we had to pay the $17,000 on top of the original bid, I guess. And so, the complainant actually applied for the trademark before the auction started, but got a registration a year later. Didn't have any notoriety at the time of the application. And com.app is generic, two terms you can get because they're two TLDs. So it was denied. And I believe it was RDNH. Let's see. Yep, it was RDNH. It was an abuse of the system.
And they ruled that because, why? Was it because he tried to buy it and the guy didn't want to sell? Was that it?
Yeah, and he gave him a low ball offer too. So
I think it was like $100, and the guy said
no,
and he was open to complaining on it, offering to acquire the disputed. No, he did offer $5,000. That was one of our other cases. We go through these cases, and you're like, the small fact, but it says the complainant on his own initiative contacted the respondent in 2019, offering to acquire the disputed domain for USD 5,000. In mentioning legal action, which they always try to do this bullshit. Say, listen, I'll give you this. We have the trademark, which usually they don't even go that high. Let's face the music. Usually they'll just go 500. couple hundred and say, I'm going to threaten legal action, so you might as well sell it to me. So, but he failed to disclose all that in the complaint, and that's why the panelist, and that was Matthew Kennedy, right? Let me see here. Yeah, Matthew Kennedy. For the foregoing reasons, the complaint is denied. We put links up to all these cases if you're into it, so you can read the summary. One thing we'll always say is we don't get to see the actual complaint with all the exhibits, with all the evidence, and we don't get to see the actual full-on response. These are just summaries provided by the panelist to the service provider. So this was a WIPO case. Matthew Kennedy was the panelist. When he's done with it, he provides, the summary. And but in this case, the complainant and the respondent both represented themselves. The reason why it's not a good idea is because panelists are biased. They want to hear from an attorney. Okay? They want to hear from an attorney. And I think even worse than judges are pretty strict, but if it's a civil case and you got your shit together and you are doing things according to a procedure, many judges understand, in an instant like this where it's a value of a name. This one may be worth, a little bit. App or com.app, I don't know what it's worth. Well, David, if you had com.app, and then I'll answer. If you had com.app in your portfolio, what would you offer it for?
Around maybe 150,000.
Yeah, .app's hot. I was thinking more about 50 grand because I was like, I know it's good, but it is app and it's weird. Com.app. But now when the guy said he bought it because it's like commercial applications, that makes sense to me. If anybody's interested in the name applications.com, spelled correctly, reach out to me. Todd at JJN Solutions.com. I give you the law firm email. But yeah, if you're interested in applications.com, I'll put you right in touch with the seller.
The complainant was actually in the business of apparently selling subdomains. Actually, fourth level subdomains, because you got com-4.app. He's got all these different variations, and then there's he has a com with the umlaut on it and a com with a squiggly on top, which I don't know what it is. And the rest are all hyphenated, longer names. He's not really using the term in commerce. I'm surprised the USPTO actually accepted his specimen. It should have been rejected. This guy committed fraud. And if you look at his list of goods and services, it's really long. He's not an internet service provider. He's not doing most of the things in the list of services that he's claimed. So this is a fraudulent registration. It should be canceled.
No mincing words. Hey, we're going to go through these cases pretty fast. So, Paul, if you want to talk about the .in extension, I know, some things haven't changed. People act like there was some new news. I saw Josh made a comment. Hey, Paul, hey, Summit. I thought those were investable. And of course, the .in registry is saying, these aren't for domain investors and you got to be careful with them. But yet, you can sell a .in name. Okay, let's be clear on that. But if we get through the cases, you want to make any comments about that. And Arif, I know your case was decided as well. We'll have that on the outline for next week. I see that. I just saw that this morning. I read through it too, the decision and everything. So, if you want to talk about that at the end of today's show, we'll cover that next week. But let's get on to our cases. Com.app was the one that we just went through, and that was a complaint denied, reverse domain name hijacking. So the domain owner gets to keep the name. This reverse domain name hijacking, it's really, it's really goofy anymore. We're to, there needs to be something more than just the words, just to say you're guilty of, the panel saying, I find that you've abused the system, and that is, you know, reverse domain name hijacking, and that's, you don't even make them get a tattoo or something, RDNH. All right, the second case today is anyformat.com. I picked this one because I was like, anyformat.com sounds like a cool name. I thought, who's got a company called Anyformat? I wasn't familiar with them. It's a Spanish company out of Spain. Okay, Anyformat SL is the complainant here, represented internally. And John Berryhill made a comment about a week ago. Somebody was like they were represented internally, and he's like, who, by their liver? Would one of their kidneys represent them? Okay, so this complainant is Anyformat SL out of Spain. The respondent, Jesvin Jose out of India. Okay, so the domain here is anyformat.com. So at least it's the one that anybody that has the name Anyformat would want. So the factual background is the complainant is, incorporated under the laws of Spain, developed this AI-based service where it takes, you can give it a document or a presentation or even a voicemail or voice recording, and it extracts the information out of there and will put it in a spreadsheet for you, or basically you tell it, hey, listen to this, get all the numbers out of this presentation and put it in a spreadsheet for me, and it does stuff like that. Anyway, the complainant registered the domain name anyformat.ai in February of 2024. February 18th, 2024, began using Anyformat as a trademark. That's what, it's basically saying. For this particular service, extracting data from documents and then putting them in another document. So they take it from one, transfer it to another. On October 7th, 2024, the complainant publicly announced that it had raised €500,000 in a pre-seed financing, and then I bring this up because this was like the only evidence that they showed of them being, having a trademark under Anyformat. And then they filed a trademark application that was true. That was in 2025. But I wanted to get to, at the end of 2025, they announced another raise. We raised €3.3 million. And the reason this is important is because the panelist here basically said, you don't have a trademark. You didn't even, that was the first prong of the thing, saying, listen, you don't have a trademark, so you haven't established the first element of this, so really you've lost the case, because they've like, hey, you just showed us rounds that you raised money, but you need to provide evidence. You may have had a trademark on Anyformat, but the panelists didn't feel that way. Before we get to the other elements, David, so what was the case? I was trying to remember it as I was sitting here looking at my notes, and that is they filed for a trademark, but did it not get registered because it was not specific enough? I mean, they filed it in Europe. Do you know anything about this trademark filing?
I didn't look up the filing. It says it has an application. I guess it's still pending. It says right in the decision that the application is still pending. So they don't have a registration yet. And their domain name is anyformat.ai. They have 9 organic keywords, 1 SEO click per month, according to SpyFu. They don't have any notoriety now. They definitely didn't have any notoriety in 2024. And announcing 2 funding rounds in 2024 doesn't give you notoriety. It's not common law rights. You don't get that. You have to have customers. You have to have huge following to have common law rights, to prove your rights. So, yeah.
This domain owner basically got the name and pointed it mostly to I love PDFs. So basically he said, he set up a website. People were looking at it, going to it, anyformat.com, and he liked it, saying, hey, any file, will convert it to a PDF, and people didn't mind clicking the link, and it took them over to I love PDFs. They did the conversion for him. He really wasn't doing anything, just more of an affiliate site. and the complainant felt like you're doing what we're doing, converting file and converting, content from one type of file or one type of content, right, to another. And the panelists said that's what any format basically means in that area of business. You go from one format to another. So there's tons of websites. I'm sure a lot of us use them. Convert this to a favicon. Convert this to a PDF. Of course, we've all used that crap. But converting, convert this pages file or this doc file to this. So it happens, it's popular on the internet to convert files. Okay, so the domain anyformat.com ended up being a complaint denied as well. The panelist Lawrence Nodine, I don't really recall doing too many of his cases, but said the panel acknowledges that the timing of respondent's acquisition of the disputed domain name may have caused complainant to suspect foul play, but this is not an excuse for the complainant relying on misleading evidence. So they did rule that the complaint was brought in bad faith, so another reverse domain name hijacking. And absolutely nothing happens, right? This was, especially what they're going to do, the complainant was represented internally. This complainant probably, I think there were other domains. They may end up filing other complaints, but it's not going to be really held against them. Anyformat.com
Yeah,
stays
so
with
I
the
think
domain.
that anyformat.com is a lead gen site. They rank for any file to PDF versus anyfile.ai is a data extraction service for giving data to your AI in a structured format. So two different types of products, and they're not identical products. But the complainant says, "Oh, you copied our site, copied our content." Like, no, they didn't copy it. It's not. There's nothing literally copied. The logo's not the same. The words are not the same. It's a different service. So yeah, they basically were overreaching. So I'm glad that no attorney represented them, because that would have been a really bad look for the attorney to represent this client to file UDRP against the .com. It seems like, oh, I got the .ai, but now I realize I need the .com because .ai is not going to get traction.
This respondent, did an okay answering me because he was brief and said, I've never listed this thing for sale, which sometimes that doesn't hurt you if you do have it for sale. But he just listed some facts saying, listen, shortly after I got it, I launched that any file to any format page. And I've never, the facts are, I never listed it for sale, never advertised it, never solicited any buyer, let alone the complainant. And it said I didn't initiate any communication proposing the sale of it. It was a broker representing the complainant who contacted me, and I think that was, although the respondent contacted the complainant December 30th, 2025, so not long ago, 5-6 months ago, about the broker's prior inquiry, and advised that he was open to discussions, but he did not demand or propose a price. So it's another reason why it's basically good negotiating when people always like the other side to give a price first. It's smart. You're a domain owner. Why wouldn't you have them even if they say $50, $100? Give a price first. Now, a lot of us price our names because we're on these, platforms where they hound you to have a buy it now price, and then they give you all the data of how that sells faster, and you have buy now. But if you say if you're using Afternic and you just have those make offer landers, okay, maybe there's not as much sell through with those as there is buy it now, but there always is benefits to not having buy it now pricing on your names, especially if they're ever in a dispute. But I used to hear from, friends, and I did communicate with Anish recently, who I said he's the one who owns Name Bio, owns 60, 70,000 names still. He would always tell me, just use their make offer lander. Don't use the buy it now. You can, somebody interested, people get turned off even at a low 4-figure price. sometimes. So if they think they can get it for 500, they may call in, and then it's nice to get a little bit of information from them. Okay, so they only wanted to spend 300, 500, up to 1,000. All right, well, we're getting close. We only wanted 4,000. So he always felt like that was beneficial, and then went back and forth with the numbers. But anyway, I think there's benefit to never mentioning a price. And of course, on the high end, that's what all the big timers will tell you. Let the other guy, you mention a price first. You mention a price first. So it does make sense, smart negotiating. If somebody's interested, you're the seller. What were they thinking? Give me an idea of what you're willing to pay for this thing. And all right. Sucks in the archive, a Wayback Machine. It has, sometimes your landers, and it shows what your former price was. But even if it was 6 months ago, you can say, yeah, that was 5,000 6 months ago. Now it's 50 grand. All right. Anyformat.com stayed with the domain owner. We're going to go to the next case. In the next case, trailersalesandleasing.live. Okay, this case just made me mad. That's why I put it on here, but it's real short. It's going to be done in fucking 2 minutes on this case. The complainant was Trailer Park Inc. And Trailer Park Inc. is a company, it says right in the complaint that they're a prominent entertainment marketing and content production company operating across North America, Europe, Asia Pacific. I've never heard of them. It focuses on streaming, filming, gaming, music, marketing, in sports, offering creative content, production resources, and all sorts of services. Okay, so it's not a trailer park. Okay, you got me. So it's not a trailer park. You just have trailer park because that's a funny name, right? Like you live in the trailer park. There's some people listening. No offense, you living in the trailer park. Just be careful when those tornadoes come around. But so it's a company that doesn't operate a trailer park. They're called Trailer Park, and they're a content creator, provider, whatever. This domain name, trailersalesandleasing.live. Okay, the only way I could see them ever having any rights to this name would be if they were being impersonated for some reason, and the person bought this name, Trailer Sales and Leasing, because they went. And that's exactly what the complainant's saying. It's somewhat that, hey, they have our name on there, and or our address, and but the site wasn't. I don't believe it. I don't believe they really did that. The respondent was a company called Quality Used Cars. So I believe they were really just offering sales and leasing on trailers, and this respondent, Sally Craig Hall. I was going to make a joke about crack, but Sally responded informally and said, when I say informally, that means they didn't go by the program and I mean by the procedure. Like there's a format that WIPO or the form or the service provider will give you saying, hey, if you're going to respond, put it in this format. So usually people just send an email, and she sent an email and said, hey, we have reviewed the complaint, and it appears that our business is not the one involved. The domain in question has been under the same ownership for an extended period, and there is no connection to the matter described. People try that tricky stuff too, to act like I don't know what you're talking about. Well, because they run a used auto place, and it's trailer sales and servicing, and you can build a site with AI. It might have picked up somebody else's address. I don't know, but something is just fishy here, because this ended up being a transfer. This single member panelist, William Hamilton, said they registered it in bad faith, which I just didn't see any proof of that. Was it used in bad faith because it had an address? And of course, sales and leasing, it was a site that was asking for some information, just information on who are you. If you want to buy or lease a vehicle, we're going to need some information, contact information. But it just seemed like a very weird case. Should have never been a transfer. Of course, need to answer appropriately. But David, what did you see here? trailersalesandleasing.live is the domain.
So there are a lot of trademarks for the word trailer park. There's Trailer Park Boys and Trailer Park Queen and so forth. a lot of them. Trailer Park Rich. These are all registered trademarks. So, these guys, a they don't have a case. They don't have a matching trademark. You cannot see the entire Trailer Park trademark in the domain name itself. On the website, you have, you have on the bottom, trailer sales and leasing park. But all trailers are a trailer park. It's like a common thing, right? But they have two addresses here. One is in Illinois, and I looked it up on Google Maps. It looks like a trailer park. It's just got a bunch of trailers there, like a yard. Not people living there, but a place where they store trailers. And they disclose on their website, and then they have this address at 6922 Hollywood Boulevard, right across from the Chinese Theater. And this Chinese theater, is like a small thing, but the building across the street, I don't believe it has 12 floors. And on the website, it says it's on the 12th floor. But the complaint is on the 10th floor. If you go to Google Maps, you can see that. And, they're totally different businesses. There's no impersonation. If you look at the Google Maps history, right now they're in a lull period, but they have a lot of popular times. So I think they're actually in the garage where they have a lot of coming and going traffic. And so, it's literally a trailer park in the garage. They have a lot of bad reviews on Google Maps. So, maybe they're a scam site. Maybe they're taking people's money. They say, oh, we didn't get our trailer. We ordered it, and the guy had an accident on the way. I guess it's possible. You're delivering a trailer from Illinois to California, and that happened twice in the last 6 months. That's possible. But this is not a UDRP case. One person complained, I didn't get my money back. And I can see that maybe these people giving bad reviews called the trailer park entertainment office on the 10th floor and complained about this. And they're saying, no, that's not us. They're impersonating us or whatever. They have the same address. It's not really the same address. The 12th floor doesn't exist. They're in the loading bay in the back or the underground. And the complaint is on the 10th floor. Nice posh office, apparently, but you can't see any pictures of the office.
Yeah.
So if anything, this is a matter for the FBI to investigate or Los Angeles Fraud Squad. But beyond that, this is not a UDRP thing at all.
Yeah. There's a
But
website.
yeah, it was transferred.
Trailersalesandleasing.com, and that's who I think trailersalesandleasing.live were trying to take business from, because they have these trailers, a lot of them made by Hyundai, and that's basically trailersalesandleasing.live. I think they may have been scam artists, but they were trying to scam this other company at trailersalesandleasing.com, which would make sense, but yet out of nowhere, this fucking company trailer park files it. And why would they want the name unless they were connected to trailersalesandleasing.com? I don't know, but that's who it appears to me that the domain owner was, registered this .live because they saw the .com and they thought we'll make money off of, we'll confuse people with that .com. That makes sense to me. And I look at the websites, I believe that's what they were trying to do. So who this company is, Trailer Park, comes in and takes the name. I don't know why they'd want the name anyway. It's just a stupid name. So fuck it. Excuse my language. I just want to cuss today. So that was a transfer, goofy ass transfer. Didn't even make sense. I like to sound like a hillbilly. Doesn't even make sense. Ah, damn. Hee-haw. Okay, yeah, that was trailersalesandleasing.live. Final case for today, Posh Pod. Yeah, we had a load of cases, didn't we? POSHPOD. Yeah, this case really isn't that interesting either, but I will say it's Posh Pod LLC out of the U.S., represented internally. Respondent is Mark Golden out of China. So the domain poshpod.com is the disputed name. The complainant of course, guess they're on Posh-Pod. They say that they operate these medical and wellness business. I don't know. It's like I was looked at the website Posh-Pod. David, do you know what they do? Do they put your head in a box and try to make it look younger? I mean, do you know what they do?
Honestly, I don't. I didn't look it up,
Yeah.
but I do know that they just got their trademark and the domain. That's the complainant just got their registration, but the respondent also has Chinese registrations for PoshPod and actually had an active website in the past that was very popular. But then they shut it down. They're rebuilding it. So it was interesting that the chain of title was kind of weird because the name on their trademark registration was different than the trademark, the domain name owner, but the registrant ID was the same. I don't know how that works. The guy had to, show his marriage certificate, show the chain of title, like we have the same ID as like alter ego. So, yeah. I'm looking at Posh-Pod, and they're offering some sort of treatments for Botox, fillers, microneedling. So yeah, this is a brand new business with no real notoriety. And they want the .com without the hyphen. And they're out of Lakewood, Colorado, just like one little location. So
Yeah.
yeah, this
Somebody
is
got wind. I'd like to have been there, David, where the internal, where someone says, it's just, man, somebody, our biggest client, somebody sent the Posh Pod. We're getting all these email mixes. It's just stupid. And then somebody else told them, yeah, hyphens are stupid. And then they're like, yeah, we had a hyphen forever. And we just have Posh Pod. And then they went to the site and write, it's down. And they're not even using it. And then anyway, this guy in China's like, we've been using it longer than you. We sell more stuff than you. And now we're just redoing our site. We probably run tons of different companies and sites, and that's a good name, and we'll sell it to you for $1 zillion if you want it. But otherwise, we'll rebuild it and we'll launch it again whenever we want. But until then, kiss our ass. They said that all in Mandarin. I think the guy said it to him. Anyway, so this person in their internal said, we're going to file a UDRP. I love when people, they must have figured it out. And then where do we file? And then they did their big thing and they spent, it was only this much. And then you just cross your fingers. Maybe we'll get it. Anyway, the decision came down. Okay, it was a deny. It was denied. Definitely, it says necessitates also an RDNH, and this panelist, Asen Alexiev, watched him many times. I think he's pretty good for the domain owners. But yeah, so that's 3 RDNHs. Can you believe that? So yeah, these guys, you should not file this. Basically, that's what the panelist is telling the complainant. You shouldn't have filed this. You were in the wrong. You've abused the system. You probably didn't tell us all the facts. That's usually when a panelist gets mad. Like, you didn't tell us that you contacted them and that they turned you down. They did, Pod, this company, Posh-Pod, they did contact this person. Didn't they, David? Do you recall? Did they contact them? And sure they did.
yeah, they offer them $100.
Oh, this was the $100 one. Yeah. That would make me mad too. $100, and then this person thinks that. All right, well, that was another transfer, like I said, so we're going to finish up fast today. If you, Paul or Arif, if you guys want to come up and tell us a little bit about things you're going through, we're going to talk about Arif's case next week. He had a domain dispute, and there was finally a decision. After a long time, it was like unbelievable. But World Cup of Hockey.com is going to be on our outline for next week. Let's see it, Paul. Yeah, Paul, we got you up here. Thanks for being here, and Ragu's here too. Okay, so .in. I don't know if it's any new news, but they come out like every year to try to just let people know the same thing. But Paul, tell us a little bit about, what they announced and what does it mean? Does it mean anything new? Is it the same old, same old? What's your take on it?
What's going on, guys? Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, fabulous. So, yeah, there is an advisory that's out there. I haven't received it personally. I have all my names at Dynadot, and maybe because I've never listed them actively on, like for sale at. Well, first of all, we're not even allowed to list our names at Afternic. It doesn't even, they don't even entertain .in and so forth. So now they're just reaching out to all these other platforms that are out there. Sea for example, Atom, and so the advisory basically it starts off, and the gist of it says all .in domain name registrants and .in accredited registrars are hereby advised that auctioning, bidding, speculative sale, or facilitation of auction of any .in domain name is strictly non-permissible and should be treated as a violation of the applicable .in registry policies, terms and conditions, and regulatory framework governing .in domain names. And then it goes on to say, accordingly, NICSE is the governing body that oversees the .in CCTLD. So additionally, NICSE reserves the right to take strict action against any domain name registrant, registrar, or entity found to be involved in such activities, but not limited to, and it goes on to mention the few things. And so, I mean, and for my sake, nothing really changes. I have about 400. Well, I just looked, and Dynadot, that's exactly 456. 90% of those are .in, and 99% of those are pretty much landing pages that I've built out on my own, coming soon pages. What do you call it? With countdown timers and so forth. Just basic sites like that. If someone is interested, there's nothing stopping someone from reaching out to you saying, "Hey, I'm interested in buying your name." Well, at that point, you can kind of treat it and take it from there. But um, yeah, for me, .in has always been kind of a development play. And so one of the sites that I've developed out, as I've mentioned in the past, is catalog.in. And within catalog, there's hundreds of, not hundreds, but I'd say dozens of different categories. And so what I'm doing basically is kind of forwarding all my traffic. Most of my names are all EMDs. That's what I've invested in .in, and so they're natural. It's still going to receive traffic. People are still engineer.in, for example, team.in, words like that, and so a lot of them are being forwarded over to certain categories within catalog. So I'm hoping for merchants to come in and businesses to come in and sign up. And catalog is basically a directory for just .in businesses. And so I'm catering towards their policies, and when in Rome, you kind of have to do it, follow the rules, and that's what we do here with .in. I mean, I've been doing that for a couple of decades. Knock on wood, so far so good. But again, who knows tomorrow they come out with a rule that's saying no more forwarding domain names, and then there we go, back to square one. Come up with go to plan K.
Yeah, I
That's
think
where we're at right now, Todd, with the .in. Yeah.
I was going to say, Paul, the at least when I say consistent, you've been consistent. .in's been consistent, meaning okay, they've always said that no, selling. So if it's somebody that wants to come in, and you're in a different situation, meaning a lot of single words, a lot of exact match. If somebody wants to come in with something and they're like looking for all the platforms to welcome them and be able to price their names and sell them like other names, no, then .in is going to not be suitable for you. You're going to have some restrictions. But you've been, building and basically having these sites where if somebody really has, it's like they do for single words. If they have a big desire, they reach out and say, "Hey, I see that you're doing this with it. We have interest in it," and doesn't. I was gonna say
Yeah, I
stop
mean,
you.
at that point, you can kind of discuss maybe there's a business model that's involved with it. Hey, you know what? There's a lot of different angles that you can take it from at that point. But I'll be honest with you, I didn't get into this because of a development play. Obviously, I got into this to make money, to double and triple. And initially, during the first 2 years, I'd say the first 5 years, there wasn't really that much of an issue. I mean, we were able to list across all platforms. It was, a lot easier at that point. And then they started hammering it down and laying down the law a little bit. But I think other CCTLDs they haven't been so stringent as .in. .in. Here's what the problem with .in is: they just put a blanket rule. It's like a macro rule across. They've done this in the past as well, and then they come back and they say, "Oh, for clarification purposes, this that." But you know what? You've already laid it out there once, and it kind of puts a precedent out there that, okay, we've already mentioned this at one time, whether it's legal or not. Because if you look at the rules, the initial rules of NICSI is anyone in the world is allowed to register unlimited domain names. That's in their policies. I think it's like 3.1, that's part of NICSI's unlimited. There's no ifs, ands, buts after that. It doesn't say, oh, but you cannot sell it or you can't do this. It's just known that it's always been frowned upon to put a for sale on your lander. So that's something that most of us have avoided. And the ones that haven't, obviously, they get in trouble. And you can see on the NICSI page every day there's these you know, complaints and stuff going on. Yeah, but in that sense, I wish that they would be a little more transparent. The problem is, it's a lot of gray area, Todd and David,
Uh,
and
yeah.
you
I,
know,
I want to give my 2 cents as well, Paul, if Todd allow me. Yeah.
Canadian or U.S.
Do it, Dragu. Yeah, and then David and I will comment on these
Yeah. So
CCTLDs.
yeah. That's right. So, Paul, give and take, right? So, I believe this policy makers are maybe the thing. If you go the roots, policy makers, and in India, the practice of policy makers are different from American policy makers, or sometimes other countries like Canada, as you were talking about. So that's one call. Another thing is, I'm sure, and I'm very optimistic about it. Uh, Foreign currency it matters, right? So if they close the doors more and more, I don't think so. If smart guy comes in, and this is opens up the door to the rest of the world, and especially for economy of India. So I am very optimistic this thing's going to solve out. That's all.
Okay,
Yeah,
David,
and to
go ahead,
okay,
Paul.
go ahead. I was just going to say to your first point, the policy makers, you're 100% right. It's a government body that's overseeing it. They don't really care about profits. That's the problem. They're okay. It's like a government run organization, and they don't
No, the
it,
profit is the foreign currency. I mentioned that, right? I mentioned the foreign currency. They are hunger for everybody's hungry for foreign currency. No.
Yeah, but unlike a typical, registrar that's out there like .xyz, what is at the end of the day is just their bottom line. That's the only thing that they really care about. With a government or like any government like organizations, they're happy to be there. They're going to string it along as much as possible, make it as difficult as possible, as complicated. It's normal when a government gets involved in this. This is the normal way that things happen. It's always gray area. They can very easily tomorrow just draw that line in the sand, and none of us will cross that line. But they do this purposely. They don't want to clarify it. Why not? Why not just put the rule? If there's no selling ever, why be so ambiguous about it? And why 20 years later you've realized that you can't sell? What about people that have registered domains? There's people, I'll tell you what, in .in, they've registered domains, they paid for 10 years of renewals, and Nixie has taken their domain away 2 years into it. Not me, but someone else.
Yeah.
And they have
Yeah.
not even compensated them for the remaining 8 years, even though multiple messages. They just frankly don't care.
They
Their
think they're
service is
GoDaddy,
their
just like
service.
Arif complaints about GoDaddy. Now you are
Yeah.
talking like that GoDaddy and Arif.
Well, no,
Okay,
I've
I get
always
it.
I've always been this way with Nixie. I mean, it's just a government body. I'm sorry. That's the reason I'm in Bitcoin, is because I'm so anti anything government. And unfortunately, the way things are going is like they have full control over the CCTLD and the direction it's headed. Unlike .ai, look at .ai, very independent, focused on making money, and that's what they're doing. They're kicking ass. .in could be .ai. There's so many different acronyms for .in that they could be doing, but no, they're stuck in their old-fashioned ways, and there's nothing that we can really do about it at this point. Just continue to biddle.
Um, okay, I wanted to hear David's comment about something that I'm going to bring up. And that is, okay, the CCTLDs, they're attractive because they're 2 letters and people like short. And then we see, the outside world goes to domain names and they don't know when they go to whatever.ca, they think, okay, that's a domain name, that's Canada. But we don't realize that the governments just don't, they don't have to bow down to ICANN. Okay. So they can make changes anytime they want, and there will be changes. There can be some to people act like, yeah, but .ai, .io, .co, they're managed by these third parties, and even .me, there's an organization of 3 different companies that handle the .me, and they believe that they're insulated from the government's coming in and just making some drastic changes. But the governments aren't, they don't have to abide by ICANN rules. But like I said, the outside world doesn't know any of this. So if you invest in a 2-letter extension in a country code, there is going to be, basically, there could be changes in the expenses, changes in renewals, and their rules. They don't have to give a certain amount of months, and they don't have to do what GTLDs have to do. We'll maybe bring this up next week when Jeff's back to really get down to what, how free are the CCTLDs, because they can really do anything. So, David, do you expect for us to see, .ME's getting a little greedy? They want more of their cut of, the registrations from their names. And then we see .co was wanting some of the aftermarket. That registry is saying, listen, no more selling the names, no more, these drop names going to expired auctions. They go back to us, and then we decide if they go to an auction. So do you think we're going to just now, because AI, I think it's probably because AI is so profitable. So what's the word I love to use? Fruitful, almost. It's like that. But for that country, that we're going to see more countries look at their CCTLD and, step in and change rules. Do you expect to see more of that?
Well, I wish that the Canadian government would take over the .ca registry, but it's not happening. It's run by a private organization. The original guy who created all the CCTLDs handed them out to IT guys at various universities, and they have partnered with third parties. In Canada's case, they created a nonprofit entity that actually is like a virtual VC firm. They collect over $42 million a year in domain name registrations and renewals, and they use that money to fund all kinds of IT infrastructure around the world. And nobody knows where all that money is going. It's like an enormous budget. It's a black hole. And they travel to all the ICANN events. So it seems to me like something's not above board. But, the EU, they are more legitimate because they're properly governed. And, it's $5 and change a year for like retail prices. I think the wholesale is even less. So they're just going at a cost. So there's all kinds of different things going on here. If the government's truly in on it, it would be above board, but it's not. The government's not part of these things. And I think these guys are getting greedy because they see what's happening with the GTLDs, the new ones, and they want to join the party.
Yeah, we always have that, argument is how close is domain investing to gambling? If you're investing in a CCTLD, you have to be willing to really almost lose it all. I know people are talking about the .si. I guess that's Slovenia. As soon as, there's a lot of registrations, I can see a government looking more closely and saying, so we have 60,000 registrations now? How can we make more money off those? And then somebody's going to say, well, raise the renewal. And they're thinking, well, how much can we raise it to? And then some are going to think, well, we certainly can raise it a couple bucks. That shouldn't affect too much, right? We could probably raise it 10. If the renewal's $10 now, why wouldn't we just make it 20? I guess the point is we're going to see, and we're seeing it. Like I said, the .co is taking back. You can't, now when these things expire, they don't go to auction. They go back to the registry, and then the registry decides if it can go to auction from there. Basically, the countries want their cut. So the .ai being so successful is going to affect these other CCTLDs. And especially the more, it's like the CCTLD people, they go to the ICANN meetings. They're all there too, but there's just different rules they go by. I mean, basically, they can do anything they want. I know, I was talking with a gentleman that handles Mauritius, the .mu, and basically, it's free reign. If the country gives you free reign, you can really do anything you want with as their representative for their extension. But okay, so it's not that exciting. But when Jeff gets back from ICANN 86, gets back at the end of this week, then we're going to talk about this next Tuesday. Join us here, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, every Tuesday for the Domain Name Law Show. Now this Thursday, we got a lot of domain investing topics Josh and I are going to cover. That's the DNX show, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. We do these both on X, but they stream on YouTube. You can find the links at dnlshow.com or dnxshow.com, but we stream them on YouTube live as we're broadcasting live here on X. And then we have all the shows on Spotify. That's Domain Name Law Show and the DNX Show, and also on Apple Podcasts. So we're going to continue to do it. Thanks for being here. Thanks for everybody listening on the replay, and especially, appreciate once again you being here live, listening in. So enjoy the rest of your day wherever you're at, your evening. See you next time. Take care of yourself.